Both boats at full speed, it's neck and neck. These boats locked together. He cannot believe what has happened. No room! Pulls the spray, barreling down the line. Says they're coming on the inside. Barkow burying the bound. I think there's contact between the rack and the pole.
Chicago, Illinois, the Windy City has delivered action that we would come to expect for this fifth stop on the 2017 World Match Racing Tour. Hi, I'm Tucker Thompson, along with two-time match racing world champion Simon Shaw. We also have a local star, Nathan Hallerbach, here from Chicago. And guys, 18 teams started out this regatta 4 days ago. This afternoon, we are going into the finals. Two heavyweight teams have earned their spot against each other. Only one will be the winner.
I mean, absolutely sensational day of match racing here in Chicago. Ian Williams fighting his way around Sam Gilmore in one of those two semi-finals. And then down at the bottom, Taylor Canfield up against Phil Robertson. And it was Phil Robertson and China One Ningbo that found their way into the finals. So these two teams have been really just bulldozed their way through both sides of the draw to find themselves in the final, but they have been tested along the way.
All right, well, there we had it. As we mentioned, all those top teams were here. We're down to the final two. All the action, as you'd expect, fitting of the finals of a race like this. There's Ian Williams against Robertson. Who do you pick? I mean, Williams, a six-time world champion. Robertson, leader of the tour and current world champion. How about, we'll ask you, Nathan, what do you think?
Well, you know, I think we'll come to Nathan in a second, but if we're looking there at that Williams-Robertson matchup, for me, Williams has, if you like, the momentum. He's sailing extremely well, you know, with his majoritively British team, and you know, he's in the best form. Phil Robertson, on the other hand, you know, there's been a couple of cracks, but you know what? I think he's kind of on balance slightly better. So it's really going to depend, like, who picks up that early momentum, how the sort of results stack up. But you know, I expect to see Williams take it to Robertson in that pre-start area, and that's the sort of area of the racecourse we're just coming down towards.
Well, speaking of the pre-start, you're looking at the signal boat. The 3-minute signal will come down, and at 2 minutes, Williams and Robertson will enter the pre-start box. Left of screen, you can see the red bows of Ian Williams. He is sheeting on, speeding up, clock ticking down. Robertson will also enter frame. And here we go, coming up on the 2-minute signal, race number one of the finals of Chicago Match Cup.
So bringing his bow down, Robertson entering from up high. Williams in the orange, just going below there, the VIP hospitality boat, just down the side of the pier. 1 minute 45 to go. Williams looking to come around, just keeping one eye over his shoulder, looking to where Robertson is, about judging that time and distance back to the pre-start.
Minute 30 seconds counting down. Interestingly, of all the teams on the World Match Racing Tour, only two have won regattas. These two, Ian Williams and Phil Robertson.
In some respects, Robertson undefeated to this point in the M32 at least. Williams only winning the only regatta sailed in the monohull. But there, the gap closing right up. Robertson looking to try and put the squeeze on Williams, forcing him to luff up now. Robertson, can he keep that overlap in place in that leeward position? Trying to hold Williams up to that right-hand side. 50 seconds to go. Both boats will be early if they just lead back at this. And Williams trying to separate to windward and bringing his bow down. Robertson goes for a massive luff, but Williams really equal to it as he turns up. And I think Williams now in the ascendancy for me. Robertson has completed attack, and he tacks back now. As Williams continues to extend on port, we'll see him, I'm sure, tack back and then come in absolutely fully up to speed on port as Robertson goes for yet another tack. And I think this is all Ian Williams at the moment. Robertson below ley line as Williams comes through a final tack. It's going to be GAC Pindar, I think, in orange that are going to close this one out, bringing his bow down. 15 seconds to go. Williams now bearing away, looking to power up in that windward position. Robertson has an opportunity to be up to speed as well. Final few seconds, and we're underway here in the finals here in Chicago. Williams to windward in the orange.
Now there's the gun. And somebody was over early. Was it Phil Robertson? Can we see?
We just go full speed.
Yes, look at that. It was Williams who was over early. Phil Robertson will pull forward. Ian Williams will have to slow down.
Stand by. 2, 1, go.
Now, I'm not sure about that. I think that was Phil Robertson that was over. It looked like that to my eye. He's also got the blue flag. So our graphic is incorrect there, but it's Robertson who was over, and it is Williams who's off in the lead, race number 1.
Everything we might lay down here, guys.
I'll just tune up the graphics team a little bit. But coming down the run.
Right gate, hasn't it? Don't think we're going to get down.
Unclear. I think maybe the umpires changed their mind, actually.
Your call. Yeah. 2, 1,
And Williams, the first jibe. No, look at that.
It's a
interesting
dummy.
move. Yeah. First dummy jibe we've seen.
Well, it's the rounding.
Oh, take that back. That was a bit dizzy going on board all the way down there.
Yeah, I've got 15, guys.
Upwind, split. Robertson to the right. Ian Williams to the left. Game on. Upwind.
Stand by, tack. 3, 2, 1, tacking now.
One thing we have seen from Robertson in every single regatta and pretty much every single match, he is able to come from behind no matter who he sails. Just beat Taylor Canfield all the way in the 5th and final match to get into this finals, and now he trails Ian Williams upwind, leg 2 of 6.
Feel slow. Very okay.
Now the tack from Robertson from the right.
So Robertson with the tack back, coming back from the right-hand side. Made a bit of a gain.
Yeah, he has.
Robertson coming in from the right. I think Williams will cross, but it's going to be close. Robertson getting stronger all the time as the boats get close together. He's bringing his bow up a little bit.
He is much closer. And Williams will definitely take note of that.
Are we going to get to ley line? That's a shame.
Listening on board with Ian Williams.
Is that a header or a low? Really underpowered. Do you want to go up, Tim, or?
Now, approaching the exclusion zone. Williams is thin, and he's got to tack. Now, the question, Simon, is will he be on ley line for the top mark when he tacks here?
Well, he's come up thin there to try and get as far up the race course as he possibly can before getting to the exclusion and tacking. I don't think he's on ley line. There will be an extra tack. Robertson coming back from the left, looking very lifted on port. I think these boats are going to be close together. Robertson coming back from the left on the ley line for the top gate, and he's bringing his bow down. Williams comes down on starboard. Robertson forced to duck Williams on. Now Williams up into the tack. Now will Robertson be able to get underneath the line of Williams, who's bringing his bow down? He'll be looking for a big hook. Robertson gets an absolutely massive piece of Williams and brings his bow up into the wind, looking to luff the Brit up into the air. Into the wind. Robertson now bears back away. Now will Robertson be able to lay from this new position? He's forced William to tack back. And will either of them lay? I don't think they will.
Robertson did a nice job forcing Williams to do 2 down speed tacks, and now both teams approach the top mark from the right.
And it's coming back again together. Robertson coming in on starboard. Williams looking to tack on the inside. Now will Robertson be able to roll? He's coming round. He's over the top of Williams, who's now desperately trying to accelerate. Genoa coming out, but they are absolutely locked horns. Williams now with a luff, bringing the bow up a little, and Robertson bearing away onto the inside. These two are fully locked horns there. Williams almost broaching out as he powers away from the mark, with Robertson giving chase. This is the final of finals here in Chicago, and the 2 finalists are trading blows down this run. Robertson on the trail of Williams as we come up towards the jibe position to head down to the bottom gate.
Spectacular action, just as you'd expect in the finals of Chicago Match Cup. Williams jives, Robertson leads and lets him go.
2, 1, jibing.
But Robertson has jibe. Now Williams will jibe to Leeward. Air clear behind.
Yeah.
And a small lead. Williams looking to make it a bigger one. Robertson looking to get back in the match. Listening in on board
We want to set up
What do you want?
with Williams.
Where's he?
Williams there looking around, trying to get his team to keep a bit of an eye on Robertson. Up in the windward position. It looks like Williams has made a massive gain down at the bottom of this racetrack. Cracking back across into his final jibe down towards the bottom gate. I think he might lay.
Good leg. Slightly overstood.
Yeah, he's got it.
Hit the rack, please. Hit the rack. Stand by spot.
There he goes. Look at that. Williams constructing.
2, 1, foul.
Rounding that top mark only about an inch ahead of Robertson. He's extended that out to about 8 lengths.
The gains have been made by Robertson on the upwind leg. Now he's rounding behind Williams, same mark, left-hand side. We'll see if he can close the gauge again, but no question, Williams extended, certainly on the run.
So into an early tack, Robertson. Really looking to make the best of rounding the same mark, but he's in irons. Look at this, having to go for a big bag, but Robertson jamming up at the mark, and Williams looking to extend on. And they're the sorts of mistakes that we just would not have seen from Robertson.
No, wouldn't expect that.
Can only really attribute that to the crew change and everyone just finding their rhythm. There's so many different scenarios, all of the different roundings, the maneuvers, and how it all adds together and what each one of those 4 sailors needs to do at any one time. And you just feel like they're Robertson just not quite getting it right, asking a lot of his team with the early tack after the rounding. But Williams has exploited that.
Let's go a little far.
One thing that has impressed me about Williams' rise on the tour this year, he started out with a 13th place back in Australia when we began the 2017 tour. Then a first and then 2 thirds. Now he's in the finals and in the lead. Best of 5. First to win 3 matches here in Chicago. Phil Robertson, the current world champion and current tour leader overall, trailing by a pretty strong margin at this point, Simon.
Yeah, Williams going for a cover tack there, just not going all the way to ley line. So interesting that he's starting already to burn that distance, if you like, to make sure that he keeps Robertson locked out. Just the final leg to these upwind marks, followed by a reach to the finish. Robertson not on ley line, and Williams continuing off to the left-hand side. I'm sure looking just for one more tack before he lays the top. Robertson brings his bow up, but still not quite onto the lay as we give chase with our drone, following the current match racing world champion up the beat. Williams now through his tack in the cover position as he tracks up, looking to close out this first match.
And you said it earlier on in the broadcast in the semifinals, Simon, when Williams gets ahead, he's methodical and meticulous. It's one of those competitors that rarely does he lose a match once he gets in a comfortable lead.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. He certainly doesn't lose it because he's structured his sailing wrong. You know, whether he positionally, he's absolutely bang on there, you know, and you know, this is a great example. He's good at hitting those ley lines, and you know, in he comes up at the top, turns down onto what will be a final reach
into the
try
finish.
and bank this score.
Right here off of Navy Pier. Fans growing this afternoon here at the Goslings Lounge. Meanwhile, Phil Robertson, one more tack to go to get into the mark. All but over for race number 1, but lots more action to come as Team GAC Pindar heads for home.
I mean, he's made quite short work of Robertson there, you know, getting that, and obviously the start. And you know, Robertson a little bit early, just down on that bottom hand end, and Williams faster at start time. So I don't think it really mattered that Robertson was over. Williams was moving better up in that windward spot.
Yep, he's moving better now for sure. One more jibe to go. The finish line to the left-hand side. We are live off of Navy Pier, just a few meters off of the fans. That's a great shot of just how close the action is. And the finish line's between the pier and that black and white checkered buoy. It is Ian Williams who takes first blood over Phil Robertson here in the finals of Chicago Match Cup.
Yeah, you can hear the crowds just clapping as he sails along 2 or 3 deep.
That was fast and furious.
Yeah, I mean, we're just 1-0 up. You know, if you compare that to the tension that was in both of the two semi-finals, you just sense like William really kind of just knocked that one out.
There's Phil Robertson. But no matter, I mean, if there's ever a competitor that can shake off a loss and come back and win, it's Phil Robertson.
And no place he's actually done that more times. You know, he's sort of come from behind in some respects through all of the rounds, whether it be that Super 16 matchup with Evan Walker all the way through. To see there the calm voice of Pete Greenhow, sort of adding his thoughts to Robertson and where he maybe feels like they've got space to improve. On board with Ian Williams.
Put my drink if I can get it. Is it? No? Is this mine? Okay. Just lift the tiller extension if you can.
So the teams will take a short break. And then we'll be right back into it. Match number 2 of the finals here in the Windy City.
Right, so you think we maybe had a lee bow before? Maybe, yeah.
Great breeze, great weather. The 5th stop on the 2017 World Match Racing Tour. And the penultimate event before we determine the world champion next month in Shenzhen, China.
You get it much quicker than I do, I think.
Williams and crew debriefing that last race, that last victory, 1 up.
It also helps us track the race course if we're gaining or losing. Good down that boundary on the right. Radio test.
In a moment, we're going to go down live to Ian Williams and reconstruct that first victory.
You guys just make sure we're not in, well, I don't mind me in the race course.
So Ian Williams out on GAC Pindar. Congratulations, first blood falls to you. And looking at that that sort of pre-start area, you know, with the pier and the boat, what are you guys processing on board to try and execute those starts to that sort of level of precision?
Honestly, sure, we're just trying not to crash into anything. There's so much clutter there that we're just trying to get a nice clean start and see if we go from there.
And obviously, great to take the first win, and you know, keeping Phil Robertson behind you. You know, certainly built up a bit of a reputation for that ability to bounce back. You know, I guess you're keeping a pretty close eye on him when you're out in front.
Missed the last of that question, but yeah, you know, we were disappointed to let him back into the race really after such a good start and leading at the bottom. But hopefully we can keep it cleaner if we can win the start and sail away like we did for the second lap. Over.
Well, it's some great stuff, Ian. Good luck in the next match, and you know, keep us entertained here on the shore.
We will endeavour to entertain you.
Great stuff. You kind of feel like you might be being a bit sarcastic with me. You know.
I think he usually is with you, Simon. You guys have sailed so many miles together, and certainly won a few world championships under your belt. And here we are, live shots in Chicago. Actually, this is a replay of the start. This is where it started to unravel for Robertson.
So there, a bit of a delay out there on the race course, but there a rerun of the start in that windward position. Williams able just to pull that trigger early. Blast over the top of Phil Robertson.
From there, he really shut the course down, didn't he? He didn't give Phil too many options, save one at the top of the second beat there, but after that, it was game over. Textbook, Ian Williams. Here we are back on Navy Pier. You can see the flags flying there. Simon, great breeze this afternoon. Spectacular racing from the semifinals this morning and now into the finals. Race number 1 belongs to Ian Williams. The Goslings dark and stormy lounge here. Everybody enjoying a good time here in Chicago?
I mean, totally first class viewing here.
On board with Ian Williams. So we're going to give you guys an update in a few minutes for the pre-start of race number 2. Just under a short delay here in Chicago. Once again, I'm Tucker Thompson, live with Simon Shaw, broadcasting all over the world. We'd like to thank you for joining us on YouTube, Facebook, or live here in the Windy City on Navy Pier in Chicago.
Okay, here a replay of that top mark. Robertson coming underneath the line of Ian Williams, looking for a bit of a luff. Then separating across. Ian Williams braking for that left-hand side.
There's the top of the track there, Simon.
So round he comes. Williams just managing to keep Robertson behind him there as they accelerate away from the bottom, from the top mark. There, Williams just going on down the run to settle things out. And ultimately close out that first match.
So we'll lose the replay, go back to live here in Chicago, and we're going to hear from Phil Robertson, the other finalist. He's down on the water, Simon.
So going out onto China 1 Ningbo, and you know, Phil, you seem to be kind of really battling adversity here, finding your way back in. How are you going to break back into this final?
Yeah, it's early days, you know. We're one race down, so plenty of yachting to go, and yeah, we didn't sail the best that one. Made another mistake, sort of up the top of the course, following him that last time. Race Committee TV. Yeah, try and stop making little mistakes, and that's sort of the level it's at. So if you're making them, you're going to lose.
And in terms of the start, it all looks, you know, it's pretty bunched up with the pier and the houseboat, and the time and distance seems to be different each time. You know, what are your thoughts on that area of the racecourse?
Yeah, it's a tricky little start box. You do have the houseboat sitting in the middle of the pre-start area and the pier right there, so it's not easy, and we've seen a massive left shift sort of come through the whole course, so it's, yeah, not an easy start box, that's for sure, and one we've sort of struggled a bit today getting off the line, so now we'll find up that as well.
Well, listen, Phil, good luck in the next match. We know they're resetting the course, but we'll hopefully be back in action soon, and you know, your opportunity to sort of crack back at GAC Pindar.
Yeah, we'll for sure be coming back at them. That's definitely in our repertoire, I think. So, cheers, boys, and we'll see you later.
There you go. Ever the entertainer. He's always relaxed, whether he's winning or losing. His demeanor never changes. I think that's one of the most impressive things about Phil Robertson. Even though he's trailing, it's only the first match. Now we're prepared to go into match number 2. The 4-minute signal has gone up. Matthias Dahlstrom, the PRO, Principal Race Officer, doing a great job inside the breakwater.
Well, this will be Chicago. That petty final. Gilmore against Canfield. Having lost their semis, will be fighting it out for 3rd place. Canfield already 1 up, first to win 2. Now, who has the ability to dust themselves off to face up into this petty final? I think it's one of the hardest psychological things to do, having focused on winning a regatta, waking up this morning trying to pick up the crown to then come out and fight it out for 3rd place. But critical overall tour points and prize money at stake.
Yeah, for third place, $11,000 still at stake. Both teams will enter from the right-hand side of the screen into the pre-start box to the left in about 40 seconds. Now the 2-minute countdown before the start. There's Sam Gilmore. And the red helmet is our guest racer on board, the hot seat they call it. No better view from racing than being on board one of the competitor boats. We have a few guests here in Chicago that have a chance to do that this afternoon. 20 seconds to go to the pre-start entry. Left-hand top of screen is Gilmore. Right-hand side of the screen is Canfield.
So final few seconds. Gilmore in the dark blue.
2-minute signal underway. Canfield already with the Jenniker out. Gilmore responding, trying to close the gauge. Meanwhile, Canfield trying to get over his bow and lead down past the pier and past the VIP boat, deep into the starting box. Minute 45.
Right in close on the pier. Canfield on the inside. Sam Gilmore looking to try and break back in the dark blue. There he goes, coming up, bring his bow right up. Sam Gilmore, Taylor Canfield looking to try and roll across the front. Absolutely nothing separating the two boats. Canfield's Jenica still flapping and furled away as Gilmore tries to get underneath the line of the American, try and drive him back early and high into the starting box. Canfield up thin there. Oh,
wow,
Gilmore then just inches apart from Canfield as he bears away trying to get underneath the line, and he's finally done it, forcing Canfield to tack, and Gilmore up into a windward position, looking to follow him through the tack. This is where we saw Robertson go for the jibe around in his semi-final. But Gilmore now shadowing Canfield back across to the edge of the VIP boat, where Canfield looks to tack. Gilmore responds, tacking back, looking to lead the pair back to the line. Final 35 seconds, and Canfield feels to me slightly running out of options here. Gilmore has him pinned to windward. 28 seconds to go. Gilmore trying to close down the gauge, but Canfield slowly nodding forward. Can Canfield roll across the top? Final 19 seconds, there's the pin just looming into view, and the committee boat. And Canfield starting to move. Gilmore still trying to bring his bow down, trying to build some speed.
7, 6, 5,
And Canfield, for me, with the better speed, the better acceleration, now punching forward towards the line. And as the gun sounds, it is Taylor Canfield in that windward position that has closed that start out and now leads this pair along the top reach.
Spectacular time on distance for Taylor Canfield in US 1. Now, can he get over the top of Sam Gilmore, break the overlap and lead into Mark 1, or can Gilmore? No, Gilmore couldn't hold him off, couldn't stay inside. Now Canfield is out in front. Into mark number 1, the Jenica deploy. The distance is only a length and a half. Beautiful set, though, for Canfield. He's off.
Look at that great start, great roll there.
Canfield into the jibe already. And Gilmore will respond. Simultaneous jibe, staying with him. Canfield lower and faster. I think he's just gained a little bit in that jibe. But here comes Gilmore.
Looking to try and close back into this match. But Canfield around. Gilmore forced to follow around the same mark. Canfield just looking in his rear view mirror as he sees Gilmore rounding just behind.
So both boats heading up towards the right-hand side of the course. Gilmore can't live in that dirty air position for very long. He'll just keep losing distance with Canfield in front of him and slowing him down. There he goes, tacking away to the left. Canfield will match.
This is the Taylor Canfield show right now, out in front, dominating that pre-start and these early exchanges in this matchup. Leg 3 of 6. Canfield has this locked down.
Canfield currently ranked number 3 in the world. Every finishing position counts here as the teams fight for third. In the petite finals, upwind, Canfield is tacked. Gilmore looks fast at the moment. Could be deceiving with that far camera shot as to whether Gilmore has made a gain. And is his air clear, or is Canfield affecting a bit of him? So Nathan Hollerbach is out on the water. Nathan, you've got the best view of the racing. Does it look like Canfield might be affecting Gilmore there, or does Gilmore have clear air and it looks as though Gilmore is sailing fast?
No, Gilmore's for sure sailing fast, but he's got his bow out. Taylor didn't have any sort of control over him in that situation. But now, as you see both boats tacking, Taylor really clamping down hard right on Gilmore's bow. So Gilmore has really no breathing room here.
Thanks, Nathan. And Simon, with that hard tack, you'd expect Gilmore to go back pretty soon, wouldn't you?
Yeah, there he goes, just tacking out of that side. But, you know, Gilmore's just got to try and keep it close here. At the moment, Canfield has that ascendancy. He's dominated that start. But he knows, Sam knows, that if he can't break back in this match, that is everything. He's got to start to throw chance to the wind a little bit, generate a split. That's partly why we can see him tacking away now, heading off to that right-hand side.
For me, Simon, I'm surprised that Canfield tacked on him so hard and forced his opponent to the upper right. He must really like what he sees on the port tack lay line to have done that.
He's just trying to minimize tacks. I'm not surprised he let him break there. Just go to the lay line, take the gain, one less move, and round he goes at the top onto the downwind. It's about trying to let, if you like, the race evaporate, try and get through as much of the racetrack as you can, without really losing distance, and that really handed to him on a plate. And you know, as he breaks downwind towards Navy Pier, towards that Chicago skyline, it is Taylor Canfield out in front.
There, Gilmore will take the opposite gate and split downwind. Canfield immediately jibes, and Simon, a big, massive puff to Sam Gilmore. Look at him go.
I mean, he is blazing down that outside in the dark blue. Canfield jibing to match, but, you know, he's got a lot of distance to make up. But he's certainly eaten into it a little bit here as he comes through this next jibe. Canfield just coming across to sort of shut down the leverage of Sam Gilmore.
And often downwind, the puff that the windward-most boat sees filters down to the leeward boat, the lead boat, and Canfield now ripping downwind in a nice lefty and a header at speed.
So down to the bottom marks. Up to the top and then down to the finish. Sam Gilmore looking to try and find a way back in.
Well, there's a great overhead shot. Our drone pretty much up in the upper atmosphere, Simon, giving you a look at the difference between the two teams. It's got to be 12, 13 boat lengths and counting as Canfield continues to gain. A split. Predictably, Gilmore will take the opposite mark. This, the last upwind leg. Race number 1 of the petite finals. Nathan Hollerbach out on the water. Has done a lot of sailing in this part of the world and certainly a lot of match racing. So Nathan, if you can hear us out there, really options kind of running out for Gilmore, don't you think?
Race course for him with only 2 legs left. You got to really hand it to Taylor Canfield, bouncing back after that, you know, that 5th race loss to Phil Robertson, to come back here and really just stand on Sam Gilmore's neck and just kind of close this out like he has been doing. This is world-class sort of, you know, operating at really a high level of like sort of emotional intelligence, I guess. I don't know how else to put it, but great job by Taylor.
There we go, and I think that does really sum him up. He's broken out at these away from the start. and he's extended out on the race course. Canfield will lead up to these top marks and then just the final dash to the finish. Sam Gilmore watching today really evaporate in front of him. So heading up to the top there, the two red marks just starting to loom into view as we see Sam Gilmore come through his tack. The bottom right-hand side there, Canfield already sliding across his line.
Yeah, Canfield in a nice left-hand puff is just elevating up the track here to the final turning mark. Both of these teams looking to move into the World Championships next month in China to close out the 2017 World Match Racing Tour. Once again, we'd like to thank everybody around the world for joining us live on YouTube and Facebook, WMRT.com, and of course live here in person in Chicago at Navy Pier.
We're also streaming out across the World Sailing website and World Sailing social feeds. So I think 5 sites where fans from all around the world consuming this media, adding up to probably one of the biggest concurrent audiences the World Match Racing Tour has had. So real testimony to the action and the production here in Chicago as Canfield comes around, bearing down towards Navy Pier, down at the bottom of the racetrack, where his home fans looking to cheer him on, member of the Chicago Yacht Club.
What does that guest racer, what is he holding in his hand there, Simon?
It's one of those, it's a Samsung 360 camera.
Cool.
So you can take a look at one of those just down at the Samsung kind of tent just on the end of the pier. Beautiful little facility they've built where you can take a look at, that not just that 360 camera, but also the S8.
It's the Samsung Galaxy Studio located north of Polk Brothers Park here at Navy Pier. And the guest racer on board getting a 360 view of the live action of Taylor Canfield winning race number 1 of the Petite Finals. Nice job.
Well done, Taylor. Great performance there. Sam Gilmore, I think can be proud of his performance here in Chicago and bowing out in 4th place, but he is building, and we are going to see a lot more from Sam as he progresses through the star, not just of right now, but certainly of the future and a potential future world champion.
And here we go. Simon, the 3-minute flag is up, and we move into the finals. Ian Williams won the first match over Phil Robertson, and now Ken Robertson, the reigning world champion, even the score at 1-all. First to win 3, best of 5, the finals of the Chicago Match Cup. Great breeze, sunny conditions, and the fans are packed here on Navy Pier. And 2 minutes, both boats will enter the pre-start. You can see Phil Robertson, he's in the blue boat to the left of screen, so that's Williams in the red boat on the right. Williams will enter above the committee boat there, the Amarita, just on the left side of the screen. That's the starting area, leaving Robertson to enter to leeward of that boat. Here we are on board with Robertson, coming up on 10 seconds to go to the 2-minute signal, the pre-start entry period, race number 2 of the finals.
So Robertson looking to respond here. Williams able to sort of sail away a little bit in that last race. But we've seen Robertson break back, and here they go, bow to bow. Robertson looking to make Ian's job that little bit harder as Williams turns to follow Robertson across down into the starting box. Down the edge of the pier. Robertson breaking out his Janica, looking to go for a bit of a lead.
Are you happy to go above this? If he goes below it, can he shut?
On board with Williams as he looks to time his distance back.
Right.
You consider how fast these boats are moving, how fast the tactics happen, and it always amazes me how calm the helmsmen seem in the heat of the action here as we approach the 1-minute mark.
Have
He's going to go above the boat here.
The spectator boat, the VIP boat coming into play here.
Big time. Williams above the line of Robertson. Robertson looking to kind of brush off Williams on that VIP spectator boat, try and force him to go above. 50 seconds to go. Final few seconds. Robertson now looking to commit below. See, there's the line, the smaller of the two wide boats. Just forward. Williams coming around the top of the boat. Robertson likes his positioning, I think, here, trying to sort of shepherd Williams back to the line.
Robertson often likes the leeward end. The majority of his starts have been won from this position. 25 seconds to countdown.
Williams has got to be careful he's not shut out here. Robertson on the lay line for that committee boat end. Final 20 seconds to go, and Robertson continuing to move forward. Williams thinks he's just going to start in that windward position. I think it's starting to open up for him a little bit, but inside the final 10 seconds, and Williams now starting to build. It seems like Robertson's struggling to accelerate. Final 5 seconds, and Williams turning his bow down, and he's off up in that windward position. GAC Pindar, I think, taking that for me as they reach across. Robertson might have a slightly faster angle in that leeward position, but it seemed like Robertson just a bit late for the line there, Tucker.
Just pulled the trigger a bit late and allowed Ian Williams to roll up over the top of him. Now, if Williams can convert, which he is, he'll spill dirty air onto Phil Robertson's boat and slow them down. So a solid lead into mark number 1 with Phil Robertson trailing.
I didn't quite understand that start. It looked to me like Robertson had all the space to just accelerate, and he was just a little bit late to kind of pull the trigger.
I think, as you called it, Simon, he was thinking about shutting out Ian Williams and then never really woke up to the fact that that wasn't going to work. Simultaneous jibes. You can see Robertson on the attack already from behind.
Saw him almost foiling on those twin seafall jibes. Williams out in front, heading down towards the bottom. There's the bottom gate looming already as Williams rounds the right.
Very short course inside the breakwater here in Chicago. Race 2 of the finals. We head back upwind, and it's a split. Robertson off to the left, leaving Williams off to the right. Williams with a narrow lead, but no lead is big enough with a competitor like Robertson. That is actually a different boat that we saw there in the frame. Nathan Hallerbach live on the water. Who do you like in this next cross? Which side is paid off?
Well, it looks to me right now, if looking upwind, the left side looks a bit better, but these boats are just changing because they can't tack real quickly. They're changing sides all the time. I think it was interesting, though, watching Phil's sort of body language and how he just allowed Ian Williams to hang there in the start and didn't really kind of mess with him, didn't push it that hard at all. That was interesting to me. Let's see how this kind of plays out.
And here is how it's playing out. Very close. Robertson's back in it. He's just ducked Ian Williams by an inch.
I mean, that just shows you how quickly he can break back. I mean, Robertson just found something in that bottom left-hand corner. We've seen it there before. They were rounding at almost a very similar time, so Williams not that far ahead. I think perhaps Robertson getting the better of the two tacks as well as they come back together. And this time, Robertson breaking to the right-hand side, Williams completing his tack, and when they next come back together, it'll be Robertson with the right-of-way.
Port tack is favored in the left-hand phase right now. But Robertson has to tack below ley line because he's approached the exclusion zone. If he goes outside the boundary, he'll get a penalty. So now he's eating a header or sailing down away from the next mark with Williams sailing up towards it. You can see Williams's bows just lifting up there on port. So the advantage shifting back, I believe, to Williams. The last cross was close. And this one?
Well, very close as well. Robertson bringing his bow up, trying to sort of sniff a piece of Williams, but he's managed to make it across. And, you know, Williams survives yet another day, but Robertson, we saw him in that Jaws mode, you know, the fin out the back, chasing down his prey, and that is clearly where he is again, as Williams continues to lead, but Robertson absolutely gnashing at him. It has slightly fallen for Williams here, because, you know, Robertson's had to do that extra tack. Williams having to go for a bit of a luff to make it around, but it is one less tack, so they'll lose a bit here, but in comes Robertson fast.
Yeah.
Williams will be under a bit of pressure out of this rounding. You can see Robertson using the extra speed to sort of turn down and around and get on the inside already. It's going to be very close, this. This next jibe could be critical. Williams looking to turn down. Robertson turning down into the jibe as well. Absolutely right on top of him. Can Robertson kind of make the roll? Jenica coming on board. China One Ningbo, and he's there right in position. Can he roll over the top of Williams, who's coming up to defend? It's close between these two, and Williams getting the extra pressure. And he's just hanging in, but Robertson moving forward now a little bit. It's absolutely nip and tuck. Williams under great danger of being rolled here. He's fighting to stay out in front. The Brit ahead in the first match. And he's working to try and stay ahead in this one. But the world champion bearing down on him.
This is the Phil Robertson we're used to seeing. When he's behind, he gets right back in the match, and now he's actually putting the pressure on Williams. A luff. Is he going to get a piece of Williams? No. He quickly decides that's not going to work. It's still bow to bow. It is still a speed race, neck and neck, nothing in it. Both teams are going to have to jibe soon, and when they do, look for Robertson to pounce. Bow down.
Come on!
There, the bow coming down.
Just turn into me!
Williams there, just Robertson jibing into the line of Williams. The umpires, I'm sure, going to get involved. Robertson absolutely bang on the heels of Williams.
It's a blue flag. Williams gets the penalty.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, we're going to have to watch a replay of that. But Williams has that penalty flag. The umpires have spoken, and he now has to go behind Robertson.
Well, this is definitely a turn of events. How many times, Simon, have we said never write Phil Robertson out? Well, Phil Robertson's just written himself back into the front of this race. And Williams still has to shed that blue penalty.
Yeah, and Robertson making life hard for him there. I think Williams wanted just to follow Robertson around the bottom mark there, but he's making it hard. Robertson now goes for the reach.
Nice job.
The penalty's gone and we're all square and we're off.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow, now the sparks are flying. Race number 2 of the finals. Robertson out in front. Now that the penalty's gone, we've got a big split. Simon, who do you like? Which side?
Well, I mean, the first thing I like is Williams. He's shed his penalty and got a split. And so, you know, he might not like the left, but it opens up options for him, you know. And when the boats come back together, we'll see where we are. Williams through his tack, now moving up onto that windward side.
And here comes Robertson from the right with starboard tack advantage under the rules.
Oh,
you know,
close.
Williams has to avoid. I don't know if Williams has got a piece of Robertson here.
Robertson, I think, just has the advantage, but it's going to be close.
Robertson to the bottom of screen in blue.
That's smart sailing from Williams. He did his tack, which kind of drops him a couple of lengths back. But now when they come back together...
Oh, it is very close.
Very little in it at all. But the wind has gone left, and Robertson heading to the left now. When he tacks, if he's fully lifted up, I think that will be gains to Robertson, but we'll see when they come back together. And it's only the leg to the top marks now, Tucker.
Right, this is the last upwind leg before the sprint to the finish. Whoever rounds the last mark ahead likely will take the victory. You saw Robertson ahead, but by what, a meter, maybe. And now that he's tacked on the left-hand side, he'll be on port. When the two teams cross, Williams will have starboard tack advantage. And Williams will have one more tack to do because he's off to the right to make that last turn around the top mark. It's going to be game on. To my eye, Williams looks faster right now. Good breeze. He's going to set up for attack soon. Robertson out to his far left.
Do what we can. Go in the yellow tack. Careful. 3, 2, 1, tack now.
So here we go. Robertson is on the light blue, looking to try and lay that top mark, but it's going to be very thin. Williams coming in with that starboard advantage, but he has to make the tack. We've seen this situation a couple of times today. Robertson going for a tack. No, he's going to go thin. He's trying to lay, he's trying to get thin, he's trying to make the mark. Williams starting to slow down as well. Now bringing his bow down, looking to try and make Robertson duck him. And now up into the tack. Williams looking to lead the tack up. Robertson trying to hold in there. He's trying to put Williams under pressure as they come around the top mark. Robertson diving for the inside now. He's diving for the inside, trying to hold Williams out, who comes around the mark. Robertson
caught up a little bit in the mark, but they are absolutely side by side. Williams accelerating, but the bow coming up on Robertson. Now, did he infringe? Did Williams infringe Robertson? We may see the umpires get back involved, but at the moment it is Williams that leads down the final run. Can see a green flag blazing on the umpire boat, and Robertson gives chase.
This is fantastic stuff. Can Robertson convert? Can he pass Williams before the finish? Both boats are heading straight for the pier. There's one more jibe in it. It'll be the most important jibe of the match. Williams is leading. There's the finish line, just off the corner of Navy Pier, the left-hand side. Robertson will go into the jibe first, heading for the pin, the right end of the finish. Williams will jibe, heading for the inshore end off of Navy Pier. I think he's got it, but look at the speed coming on strong from behind. It's bow to bow coming into the finish. The crowd is on their feet. Ian Williams has got it.
Did you see that? I mean,
wow.
It's so close. Look at that, right in off the shore.
My trap on a track set, eh?
Absolutely sensational. Everyone glued to that action.
That's what you have to love about Phil Robertson's races. He always stays in it. And he almost had that. He almost had that. It came down to that top mark, which I'm sure we're going to replay, Simon. And you'll have to talk us through just the different permutations there. When
I mean, Robertson has tried a few different ways of trying to make that work.
Listening in with Robertson and the umpires here.
That penalty,
You come grab me from the
you're being really lenient on wiping them off, right?
Greg Mitchell, the umpire, explaining the issue.
Don't you think it should be, so if I tacked on his hip there again, you're just going to take it off, right?
Go forward a bit further.
Yeah, go for Trevor.
You're slowing down to take a penalty.
No, so he had the penalty there. He goes round the mark and tack. I round and tack on his hip.
That's fine if you want to tackle to do that.
Yeah, and then...
Stop you from... No, as long as you don't interfere with him whilst he's taking his penalty,
Yeah.
then you can put yourself in a tactical position.
Okay, yeah.
But if you start slowing up and interfering,
Yeah.
then you get more risk.
Okay, so if we start to slow up as such,
Then you,
but we can tack and tack and tack and tack behind him.
it's up to him. It's
He's-
focused on him
Yeah.
to take the penalty. He's
Okay.
free.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. Then we get there, we'll just try to get off this line and then...
So what
Yeah,
they're talking about there, that's all about that bottom mark
That's it.
penalty. I think Robertson
Yeah,
feeling that
no,
they were
yeah.
lenient on Williams, letting
Oh,
that penalty
should've
be
just
washed
tacked with
off.
him there
And
around
it's
that
really
mark.
because he did his tack, that drops him 2
Because-
lengths behind, and really that's it. So here the replay of the top, and Robertson looking to try and sort of hook in, and Williams actually did. I mean, it was a first-class block from Williams because he didn't open up that gap. He's entitled to room to tack in there. And Robertson, if you like, didn't really have a good option to try and get over or inside Williams. And you know, now as they're rounding the mark, Williams, if you like, is forced to give Robertson room to round. Okay, Robertson, until they've exited the mark, I don't think is allowed to sort of luff there. And so Williams, I think, was probably at risk exiting that mark from a windward leeward situation. But you know, he was out in front. He somehow stitched it all together and made it stick. And, you know, the whole thing played out real quick. Here, just a replay from on board Williams' boat. You can see they're tacking perfectly placed. And there, Robertson unable to accelerate. I think if Robertson could have pounced into that gap a little sooner, then we would have seen a different result in that race. So absolutely nip and tuck. And Williams barely holding on. Right. You see, it's like, you know, maybe it looked like Williams is trying to bear away on him. I think he almost like fell over holding onto the helm. But look at that. Look, he's looking forward, and it's a bowsprit just almost about to poke him in the back of the head.
Williams was selling to the umpires that he didn't feel Robertson could have gone in there at that mark. And when he did, had there been a penalty, had there been a collision, it may have gone against Robertson. Here we are live down on the water with the man who took that match, Ian Williams.
Ian,
Great to have you here, and congratulations, 2-1 up. Now, you know, you're a bit of a rules master, and to be honest with you, we could do with a little bit of a talking through of that that final top mark and the obligations that you're under, and you know what you know, your ability to bear away, all of that kind of stuff as you come around.
Yeah, well, inside at the mark. We own it. He's got to keep clear.
Okay, so and at what point is he came into that leeward position? At what point is he allowed to luff? How does the whole windward leeward thing start to click back in after you've exited the mark?
Yeah, I guess once both boats are clear of the mark, he then becomes the leeward boat right of way. So yeah, at that point we've got to come up and keep clear. Not really sure what happened, to be honest with you, but I thought he was taking quite a lot of risk. I guess he wanted to because he was behind.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, it all happened pretty quick here in the commentary booth as well. But it certainly looked like there were a couple of moments in that race that were really tight, and you know, that penalty at the bottom, you know, that a very sort of tactical offload there, that seems to be becoming part of the game.
Yeah, it was. We were maybe a little bit naive there, letting him, as soon as he's in the 3 lengths, he just turns the boat into us. Not sure why I get the fine for the damage, but there you go. It's what it is, and we'll move on and try and win the last race.
Well, listen, 2-0 up, and good luck in the next one.
Thanks, Yorzy.
Well done. Ian Williams up 2-0 over Phil Robertson, the reigning world champion.
I mean, Ian was, you know, he wasn't flippant about that, but there's a lot of action there, you know, and you know, tricky to completely understand all the intricacies of it. You know, at the bottom there, he did a really nice tactical offload of his penalty, and then he did a great job of sort of blocking and then accelerating away at that in that next sort of potential penalty moment. And you know, he sort of owned the minutiae of those very technical incidents there. And I think really that's why he's there 2-0 instead of 1-1.
Well, it wasn't easy, and Nathan Hallerbach is out on the water. He had a close-up view of that top mark rounding. So, Nathan, let's get your opinion of that issue, that port starboard and that inside at the mark at the last rounding.
Well, you certainly know that I have an opinion. You know, Ian tacked inside there. I just thought maybe he didn't, you know, he kind of came down onto Phil. I thought maybe the call could have gone both ways. It was obviously a green flag, and, you know, and the race goes to Ian. You know, Shawzy, you were talking about how Ian is just sort of executing those little things, right? And that's how close the racing is out here. It's just those little things are really making the big difference. You know, one slightly better tack gives you about 5 feet on the race course. One really good jibe might get you the edge you need. And Ian's just doing the little things. Ian and his whole team, they're just doing the little things that sort of Phil isn't right now. And maybe we might be seeing that those 2 extra guys from Phil kind of like creeping in, you know, that unsure, sort of like unsure of themselves a little bit. That might be creeping in and causing that slight difference between the 2 teams.
Well, thanks, Nathan. And it's, you know, it's great to get your perspective there from out of the water. But you know, we're looking at it now, and you know, 2-0 up. It's for Robertson to respond, but you know, we have seen him do that time and time again. There, confirmation of the overall scores.
Now, if you look in the middle, that shows you that the petite finals are over. 2-0 Taylor Canfield to Sam Gilmore. But the top of the screen there are 5 total matches. Ian Williams over Phil Robertson. He's got to just win 1 more to seal the deal. Meanwhile, Phil, bit up against the ropes, has to win 3 in a row. And Nathan, are you still out there listening? We'll see if we've got Nathan back out on the water. I've got question number 2 for you, Nathan. Since you are a local Chicago sailor and you know these waters and you're out on them, so you've got a better view than the rest of us. What do you make of the breeze as far as what phase it's in and what side of the racetrack you'd favor?
You know, I mean, in these boats, like I said, we're crossing the race course a lot because we can't tack a lot, but I do really like the pressure coming out of the left side. I still think the pressure's coming out of the top left corner, so that kind of skews that. If you can get into that left corner, you can hook into the new pressure first, but it's actually kind of settled down a little as the sun comes out. The kind of if you look up, you see the cloud cover is sort of like burned off a little. It's going to bring the pressure down a little. We've already seen it kind of sit down a little bit out here, which is causing a little more chutes and ladders, a little more passing lanes for all these teams. So it's actually more of an interesting race course.
Thanks, Nathan. Always great to get your perspective as well. Not only do you know these waters here in Chicago, but you're out there amongst it with the teams on the race course. We're back here live on Navy Pier, and that's where the party is continuing here at the Goslings Lounge. Here's a look at one of our title sponsors, Goslings Rum for Bermuda. $25 gets you tickets to the Goslings Dark and Stormy Lounge here at Navy Pier and a shot at winning a raffle to go out and sail on board one of these race boats with the Samsung 360 camera, as we saw in that last match, the Petite Finals. And there is the signal boat. The committee running the races. Matthias Dahlstrom just having a bit of water there. He doesn't look like he's in a huge hurry to get the next match off. We are, though, because the excitement continues here live in Chicago. The finals of Chicago Match Cup. 5th stop on the 2017 World Match Racing Tour. And Simon, what a year it has been. All these regattas around the world leading up to the World Championship next month.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've never seen a field more tightly packed than the one we have here in Chicago. You know, we've seen some absolutely first-class performances. And it's quite normal to have 1, 2, or 3 teams which are like absolutely firing on all cylinders. But, you know, to my judgment, we had 6, 7, or 8. And, you know, in that respect, I don't think we've had a sort of healthier field on this World Match Racing Tour that we have here in Chicago. And, you know, I think that really points to the sort of the health of the sport. You know, we've got a lot of young teams sailing extremely well. And, you know, the kind of old names are having to fight hard to stay at the top. But, you know, give this another year, and, you know, I don't know who the top guys are going to be. It could be any one of like 8 to 10 teams, and, you know, that's a healthy sport.
As the fleet gets better and better in these M32 high-performance carbon fiber catamarans, you're seeing more and more winners rise to the top. Here's a look at how the Super 16 went down earlier this week.
This poison in my blood feels so wrong but tastes so good. One perfection, one desire. Feed the monster, fuel the fire.
And so coming out of that, I mean, that really trying to showcase the sort of edge we're trying to take with the drone here in Chicago. And, you know, actually that was cut a couple of days ago. And I think since then we kind of halved the distance or quartered the distance up to the boats. We've seen, you know, almost like a sort of selfie stick out the side of the crew pretty much with the drone. It's been totally first class. And I think kind of redefining how we can use those cameras. And, you know, I can't wait to see how that's going to evolve. It's certainly redefining, you know, all aspects of sailing coverage, really, and you know, exciting times in sort of TV production land.
Definitely. Well, I mean, look at how much the production has evolved, not only with the television, bringing it to you live around the world. We've got onboard footage. You can really get a chance to see what it's like and hear from the sailors themselves. But then this environment here at Navy Pier, I mean, stadium sailing really has changed the game in the past decade.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to bring it up close and personal, and there's no venue that's better for bringing it up close and personal than here, with this great big pier kind of out into this perfect area of match racing water. And, you know, don't underestimate the value of the breakwater as well. It creates this wonderful flat area of race course, which really plays to the advantages of the M32. You know, the great acceleration, but without those waves that kind of mess with the tacks and, you know, whatnot. And the sun has been shining, the wind has been blowing, and with an incredible cityscape, both to enjoy as a view and to sort of get out and about in the town in the evenings. We've had some great events, and the whole thing has been first class. I know everybody that has been involved in this event has enjoyed coming here. So, you know, thank you for having us, Chicago. It's been an amazing stop of the World Tour.
Well, you know what else? The party atmosphere here on Navy Pier, another cool part of it, other than the Peroni beer and the Goslings rum, is the fact that here in the Goslings Lounge, we can see a lot of the sailors from this regatta are hanging out. You can meet them. Taylor Canfield, having just come fresh off the water, he's here. There's Chris Steele and a few others. And if you get a ticket, if you already have a ticket, it's only $25. Come and get your 2 rum drinks from Goslings and meet the sailors here on Navy Pier.
Well, look at the scores. It says it all. Williams 2-0 up. He's only got to take one. Robertson has to take 3 in a row. And let me tell you, that is not easy against anybody.
Specifically, 6-time world champion. You know, Williams had a bit of a slump. He won the very first M32 match race regatta last year in Fremantle. Hasn't won an M32 regatta since. Now he's back on full form. Standing on match point, looking at victory here in Chicago, unless the Kiwis have something to say about it. Phil Robertson certainly will. And it's, you know, Phil, of all the people on the tour, Simon, Phil has been able to come from behind. He could take 3 in a row when he's up against the ropes because pressure doesn't seem to faze that guy at all.
But yeah, he's one of the people, one of the only sailors who are genuinely relaxed on the water. You know, I mean, everyone knows that Ian Williams is quite kind of high octane. You know, processing power. He sort of cogs are whirring pretty quick in the head. You know, whereas you know, Taylor Canfield is all, you know, he's kind of relaxed on the outside, but he's a little bit more kind of tight up on the inside. And Robertson, for me, actually genuinely calm while sailing, you know, and combined with, you know, the sort of positional sailing strengths of Williams and the executional strengths of Canfield, then, you know, he's formidable. And, you know, that's why he's the reigning world champion, and that is why he does have the capacity to bounce back in this. That being said, you know, Williams is absolutely peaking at the right time in this season. He knows how to do that. He knows how to win. You know, he's got the addition of Paul Campbell-James, a tremendous sailing talent into the heart of JC Pindall for this regatta. And, you know, I would equally be completely unsurprised if he just went on to take this 3-0.
Okay, Simon, so this is about the time of the day where we start to make our bet for a Gosling's rum drink. We tied yesterday at 1 apiece. So for a Gosling's Dark and Stormy, who's your pick? Now, I'm going to say statistically, Williams probably could win this considering he's only got one more race, but I'm going to put my money on Phil Robertson in this match. He's going to win this next race.
Okay, well, I'll take the other side of that. I'll take Williams, the red, white, and blue.
Okay, your former teammate. Now, Nathan, out on the water, you could get in on this bet as well, but there's only 2 boats, so sorry, buddy. But listen, honestly, take a look at the line bias and tell us which end you think these teams are going to be fighting for.
Well, actually, you know, Tucker, it's interesting here. The breeze has sort of shifted a little bit to the left. I actually think the pin end of the line is a little bit closer to the turning mark. So I think you'll see boats kind of fight for that. But it's interesting because the boat end of the line, the windward end of the line, the part of the line closest to the Navy Pier right now is actually kind of like more skewed. The geometry of the race course gives that windward boat an ability to, if they do pull the trigger at the right time, to kind of get over and take the wind of that of the leeward boat. So while the leeward end of the line is closer, there might be a slight advantage to the windward end.
Okay, well that pretty much means it's anybody's guess which side you want to be. Now, statistically speaking, Chris Steele told me earlier this week, 65% of the starts are likely won by the boat that can hang in on the leeward side. And Simon, you and I, having watched Phil Robertson every single regatta that he's done this year, he often likes to fight for that leeward end of the line. So I'm picking him to fight for the leeward end and win it to take this next match. Could he win the entire regatta? Yes, but we'll have to see. Any one of 3 races coming up, and 25 seconds counting down to the 2-minute entry period. Williams again in the blue boat, this time Robertson in the red. Robertson will be entering above the committee boat, or to windward of it as far as the wind direction is, and that leaves Williams to enter on the leeward side. You can see it setting up here. Williams on left of screen, Robertson to the right, and the clock ticking down. At 2 minutes, they enter the pre-start box, and Simon Shaw, here we go.
So Robertson coming from high. Williams looking to try and close down the gauge. He's in the light blue here. The piers is coming into play. Both boats barreling down the edge of that exclusion zone. Robertson turning down, looking to just make sure he's not overlap. Williams sort of not afraid to keep the hammer down and take that lead position.
Coming up on 1:30 to go. We're on board with Williams.
Williams now looking to break away from the end of the pier. You can see there glancing back to Robertson. Kind of keen to sort of lure him down, suck him into the center of his web. Williams now turning round. Robertson looking to try and roll there, jibing. Robertson saying, look, we're already gone quite a long way along here. I'm just going to sneak back into the lead, take control. Immediately, Williams sort of pulling the trigger and trying to drive Robertson back.
Both boats having tack. The 1 minute mark counting down as the teams head back towards the line. Robertson leading Williams.
Robertson there just slightly sort of leading a lot of those moves. But 46 seconds to go. Williams has plenty of time to try and push Robertson back to the line, make sure that, if you like, he's sort of bang up to speed. 37 seconds. The clock is starting to tick down now. Williams still quite high. We'll see Williams, I'm sure, start to really push. May well see the Jennekers come out. 26 seconds to go. There's the pin. Williams sort of up to speed already, trying to drive Robertson back, getting underneath the line of the current world champion. And has he got a hook? No.
Ooh, wow,
coming up
close.
on the inside. Williams now commits above Robertson, who turns his bow right up. Now, can Robertson keep control of Williams in this windward position?
10,
He's got him locked.
8,
Robertson has got
7,
Williams locked above
6,
as he starts to turn
5,
down now. This is all
4,
Robertson
3,
starting to
2,
pull the trigger now.
1.
Rob Williams brings his bow down. Both boats a little bit stuck head to wind. Williams turning down a little faster, but Robertson starting to move forward. And there, a flag.
Is it green or blue?
It's blue.
Phil Robertson copped a penalty. I thought that looked close before the start. So even though Robertson shuts Ian Williams out, he doesn't win the start. He's got to go behind the Brits and give Williams the lead.
Now, was that because he was early, or is that because of the windward leeward?
I think it was the luff, the windward lure. We'll revisit it after the race in the replay. Anyway, we've got to see Robertson slow down.
I think it's because he was early.
Okay. Either way, he's got to get behind Williams. And that's where he's been in the last 2 races. Ian Williams moves forward into the lead at Mark 1.
So turning down, and the Jennekers coming out on both boats. And again, it is Williams leading away from the first reach mark. We know this bottom leg very short. Williams turning down into the jibe. Robertson turning down to match. It's a race to get that Jenneker on and start building acceleration on that Newport jibe. Robertson the first to really pick up speed, but Williams with a comfortable match, dropping the Traveller down as they pile down towards the bottom gate.
Into the bottom gates. The lead boat always has the choice. Ian Williams will make it a left-hand turn around the right-hand gate, looking backwards, looking up into the wind direction. He's heading inshore.
And that is a long way upwind, that mark. Look how much extra distance Robertson has had to sail downwind to go to that left-hand mark. Williams, I think, is going to make a big gain. They were almost bow even if you think about it coming into this. But braking to the right-hand side of the racetrack. Williams tacking on the exclusion zone. You can see down to Robertson there. I think Williams has made a massive gain. Huge bias on that bottom gate.
And better breeze inshore here to this lower right-hand side. Now, Robertson will tack. Here's where we'll find out the difference between the two. Williams, strong gain, in charge. Again.
I mean, Williams not too quick there, but such a big gain from that bottom mark. That's what happens if you always have to take the opposite of your competitor. Robertson has almost, I don't want to say he's got away with that, but you know, he's been sort of chomping away behind his competitor. He's often taken what he's been given, but made a good fist of it. But there, when there's that much bias on the mark, he'd have had 2 really bad options. Follow Williams around the bottom or split, no matter what. He took the split and, you know, it's cost him.
It has cost him, but it's not over yet. He's come back into both of these matches. Granted, Ian Williams has been able to hold him off. So 2 questions. Can he come back into Williams again in this race? And can Williams keep him at bay? If he does, I'll get a free Gosling's rum drink. If he doesn't, that would mean you would have been right, Simon. Here we go, into the tack. Robertson from the right. And Williams will cross.
Robertson has closed back up a little bit here.
I feel like that's a sentence that we constantly say with Robertson's races. Yes, he has taken another bite out of Williams's lead.
They've both got one more tack, so that lead kind of stable. Williams set up to round that left-hand mark as he comes up into the tack. Paul Campbell-James just slipping across the boat. Sheet coming on Richard Sydenham up in that windward position. And Williams there electing to tack again, so doing an extra tack to try and, if you like, close down Robertson's options for the downwind. And down he comes. On to leg 4. Down and around, Robertson comes, giving chase to the 6-time world champion. Williams through the turn. Robertson looking to continue on a little bit down towards that exclusion, and now starting to turn down into his jibe. On board with Robertson. The Chicago city-state kind of just looming up into the backdrop. What a backdrop it has been to this regatta.
Spectacular. All credit to Todd Reynolds and his Chicago match race team, and special thanks to Don Wilson and also the Chicago Yacht Club, holding 2 major regattas concurrently this weekend. And of course, finally, Navy Pier for putting this regatta on and entertaining the fans here on the water in Chicago.
You've got to think, you know, Don Wilson's so critical to the sort of growth of the M32 class as a whole here in Chicago, and I kind of hope that, you know, we can sort of keep everything really sort of stitched together, you know, the performance of the match racing tour, the sort of inclusiveness, and just the sheer numbers of those M32 class owner-sailed regattas. You know, really is the sort of next generation of sort of participation sailing sport. And, you know, seeing all the young guys racing in these boats here, you know, we've got to think that, you know, there's more young American sailors that we can sort of bring in to this class of boat, bring into this level of sailing, and you see America sort of really sort of stick a bit of a pole in the map for sort of match racing at this level.
It would be great to see that. I would like to see it personally. But you know what else is pretty cool is that these are the highest competitors in the game, and these are the boats that they are sailing. And you can buy one and sail the very same boat. You can't do that in Formula One. You can't do that in NASCAR. The exact boat that these guys are sailing on the tour, the owners race in the Fleet Racing Series as well. And they're a lot of fun. We've both been on them, Simon.
Yeah, I mean, they're actually surprisingly easy to sail. I mean, it's just like anything. They're pretty hard to win a world championship in. But leg 5 of 6.
The end is near. Can Phil Robertson get back into this match? Let's ask Nathan down on the water. Nathan, any options for Phil here against Ian?
Split here, Tucker, so anything could happen. There's just some interesting, you know, stuff going on in the water. It's a little puffy where we are, but again, I mean, Ian just so strong, just in a really calm and controlling position right now. I hate to make a call as a commentator what's going to happen, but Ian is just in firm control here.
Certainly, no doubt. And you got a great spot just to leeward there of Phil Robertson, who is tacked back onto starboard, and there on his bow is Ian Williams. Victory in his sights, wrapping up leg 5 of 6, the finish line off of Navy Pier, and the fans standing by as well as the champagne.
You got to remember, you know, we talk a lot about the skippers here, but you know, as Phil Robertson said, there's 4 sailors on these boats, pretty much providing an even share of the performance. New addition on to GAC Pindar this week, Paul Campbell-James, wing trimmer from BAR, I think making a real difference to the temperament and sort of focus and pace of GAC Pindar. Richard Sydenham, you know, an old sailing sort of colleague of mine, back with Ian, and you know, doing a really nice job of keeping that boat sailing.
And Will Ryan.
Will Ryan sort of making up. He's an Australian making up the rest of GAC Pindar. He's the real sort of powerhouse on board there. We can see him there just bouncing away on the Jenica sheet as it sort of breaks out. And Ian Williams and GAC Pindar round the final top mark onto the final leg, coming down towards the finish. And, you know, Williams has really crushed this final. You know, we had 2 really close semi-finals where Sam Gilmore really took, I mean, the scoreline didn't reflect it, but there was a lot more fireworks in this. But here, you know, Williams has really taken it to Phil Robertson here, and really, if you like, I think building in that confidence, come out and really claimed this final, claimed this Chicago stage of this World Match Racing Tour.
And Chicago is on their feet here at Navy Pier, watching the 6-time world champion, Ian Williams, and his GAC Pindar crew cross the line victorious. They have won the Chicago Match Cup.
There, look, the line looming into view. Absolutely reach out and touch distance from all the competitors. And I can tell you how much that will mean to this British team. You know, it's a little while since they won that first regatta down in Fremantle on the launch, on the birth of the M32 sailing series. But Williams has won one. Robertson knocked off his M32 pedestal for the first time this year, but only into second. I'm sure he will be very pleased again with his performance. And, you know, he is still a force to be reckoned with.
And still ranked world #1 overall.
I mean, he's going to be ranked world #1 for a long time to come. You know, accumulation of the last 2 years' scores, you know, Robertson is a way ahead.
Amazing sailor. You know, Ian Williams, I gotta tell you, to be quite honest, I thought he was taking a bit of a slump in his career as you saw him get that 13th in Australia, but then he came back with 2 third places, and now victory, no doubt. Williams back on top here in Chicago.
I mean, look there, Pete Greenhowl on board there, just wondering what might have been. But, you know, I mean, it's been a special day of sailing. You know, if you were a young match racer and you were wondering about, you know, looking back at a day's racing to really understand the modern score, understand the game as it is currently played, tune back in to the final day of Chicago. Watch Sam Gilmore against Ian, watch Taylor Canfield up against, as PJ Posma just jumping on board there to say well done to JC Pindar, one of the other skippers in this competition, the Flying Dutchman.
From the Netherlands.
But, you know, this was a cracking day of sailing. This is what match racing is all about. And, you know, we've had a real exhibition of the sport here in Chicago. And, you know, I think everyone that is here, that has enjoyed it on the shore, everyone at home that has been, you know, watching on Facebook, watching on YouTube, watching on WMRT.com, watching on World Sailing, thank you for joining us. You know, it's been an incredible day.
Now, let's go down on the water to hear from the winner of the Chicago Match Cup. It's Ian Williams. Simon, take it away.
So, Ian Williams. Ian, congratulations. You know, what a performance, taking it 3-0 in Chicago. You know, just tell us, what does this mean to you? What does it mean to JC Pindar? What does it mean to your 2017 season?
Well, it's great for Team JC Pindar to come through. Phil's been absolutely dominating all year, making us look a bit silly, and so it's good to knock him off his perch finally, you know, ahead of the big final 3 weeks' time in China.
I mean, yeah, a great performance, and you know, just it's obviously, you know, we heard Phil talking about it being kind of pretty much an even share of 4 people that really create the performance. Tell us a little bit about the team that you guys have assembled on JC Pindar.
Well, absolutely. We've got Richard Sydenham and Will Ryan, who've been with us all year, and Paul CJ looking like the hero, coming in for one regatta and winning it. So hopefully he'll find it as easy next time, but I doubt it.
Great stuff, Ian. And, you know, lastly, sort of GAC, obviously kind of backing you guys through well, countless years of pretty much the modern era of your career. You know, what has their support meant to you guys?
Well, of course, it's huge. GAC Pindar, our sponsor, have done us proud, really. They backed us all the way with GAC since 2011, and we've won, 4 World Championships since then, and, you know, right now I feel like we've got a good shot at a 5th.
There you go.
Fighting talk, great stuff, Ian. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to GAC Pindar, to your team, and, you know, we'll see you on the shore for the prize giving very shortly.
Thanks, Shawsey. See you there.
And enjoy the champagne, which is coming on board next. And, you know, Simon, you mentioned at the top of the show that Ian knows how to peak at the right times. He's on a rise. And here comes the champagne moment on board. Well earned. And Ian says, no, give me that. I'm going to drink it. Don't waste it, boys. We've earned it.
The drone coming in. Hope he doesn't get hit by a cork.
The winners of the Chicago Match Cup. It's been a great day of racing here in Chicago. Here's a look at the scores from the racing that we saw this afternoon. There's the entire group that was whittled from 8 down to 4 this morning. The semifinals started. Williams bested Sam Gilmore. Robertson bested Taylor Canfield and went into the finals. Ian Williams is victorious 3-0 over Phil Robertson.
Taylor Canfield picking up that petty final down at the bottom over Sam Gilmore to claim 3rd spot. And, you know, absolutely sensational day of racing. And I think probably the best lineup that we have ever seen at a World Match Racing Tour regatta in this M32 series. Absolutely fantastic.
It has been spectacular. What a day of sailing, what a week of racing we have seen. Thanks to Chicago, the Windy City has delivered here off of Navy Pier as the Chicago Match Cup comes to a close and Ian Williams is the victor. We hope you join us for the next and final regatta on the 2017 World Match Racing Tour, the World Championships, 24 through 28 October in Shenzhen, China. For Simon Shaw and Nathan Hallerbach, I'm Tucker Thompson. So long from the heart of America here in Chicago.
Both boats at full speed, it's neck and neck. These boats locked together. He cannot believe what has happened.
No room!
Pulls the spray, barreling down the line.
Says they're coming on the inside. Barkow burying the bow. I think there's contact between the rack and the pole.